Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today it's time to do our monthly wrap-up video. I can't believe that August is done and this month really came and flew by. It was so fast and I have so many life changes happening at the moment, and if you're not new to my channel, you know how I feel about change. I struggle quite a lot with change because of my upbringing. I really struggle with it, but I have been handling it better. So we're here, we did it, another month gone, and we're here to do a monthly wrap-up video. Join me in a cup of tea. I'm not too sure how long this video is gonna be. And if you couldn't tell, I'm pretty exhausted. It was my sister-in-law's wedding yesterday, so we are struggling. We are just getting by with a little bit less sleep than usual, so bear with me today. But I'm super excited to talk about all the decks that I worked with throughout the month of August. I actually completed 2 books as well. And unfortunately, according to my July video, the one that I did where I talked about all the decks in the books that I wanted to work with throughout the month of August, I did have the intention of doing ancestry work. That, however, lasted only about 2 weeks because then a whole bunch of life changes ended up occurring. And I just really needed to work with my beloved, main staples like my empowerment decks. My Femme Fatale Tarot came out and I just needed something comforting. So I shifted my focus from ancestry work to just trying to get through this transition. I'm also really struggling with energy this month. Today is August 31st, on the day that I'm recording today's video. And I noticed this month I'm really struggling with my energy levels. Weather-wise too, it's been feeling a lot like fall. Even though we are technically still in August, the past 2 weeks have been quite chilly, especially early mornings, but then typically by mid to late day, it's 20 degrees, 20 degrees Celsius. I'm Canadian for my American folks. So weather has been kind of weird, like chilly fall kind of weather. So it looks like fall is coming early this year, at least for now. So I didn't really get to focus too much on ancestry work. I was still working with I forgot to pull the deck, but I was still pulling from my Between the Worlds Oracle deck. Let me go grab that deck for you guys, because I do believe that I mentioned in, oh, the deck's not even here. I do believe that I mentioned in my August deck picks video that I wanted to start working with the Between the Worlds Oracle deck as a weekly pull, and that would be the focus for my ancestry work that week. And I am happy to report that I did maintain that practice. You guys know I love this deck. It has a very folk practitioner kind of energy to it, folk magic, bones or charm casting. So I am happy to say that I have been working with this deck. Darkwood Tarot came out much earlier than it usually does. This is a very fall deck for me, or it's a transition deck, so it does line up as we have been experiencing more fall-like weather than usual. As well as I have been experiencing a lot of change and transition in my life at the moment, so I had to pull this deck out. I've not just been using it for my magical practice, I've just been using it for my daily draws as well, to be honest. This deck is all about self-discovery to me. And it would just allow me a chance to just catch my breath and reflect upon some of the emotions that I'm experiencing from all these significant changes in my life right now. And I really appreciate this deck the more I have it, because it does give me that opportunity. It also gives me the opportunity to rediscover who I am as I experience change and transformation. So again, this is the Darkwood Tarot, and she came out much earlier than I had originally anticipated, but it does feel like fall. I don't know, what about you guys and in your regions, wherever you live in the world? Are you experiencing much colder temperatures than usual for this time of the year? Please let me know in the comment section below, because it's been cold here in Canada, at least where I am. These blue bones. Ever since I unboxed this deck on the channel, I've been obsessed with it. This has been my daily draw deck for the majority of the month. Apart from another oracle deck that I'll mention at some point in this video, it's been just these two basically. This one and another one that I will get to eventually in today's video, but I have been just obsessed with this deck. This is such a beautiful deck. This deck was created by Rose Bay, and it is a fantastic deck. I've been really enjoying journaling with this deck, using it to identify and really hash out some of the emotions that I'm experiencing. Like I said, if you're not new to my channel, I do really struggle with change, so that is something that I'm really trying to work with these blue bones and my journaling practice, which unfortunately this month has taken a dive. I'm finding myself to be a lot more exhausted than usual this month, as well as I now have significantly less time to dedicate to journaling, as well as other practices in my life, as I've recently completed a contract, and then during the 6 weeks of summer I was in between contracts, so now I'm back full-time. I was only working part-time hours for about 6 weeks in the summer, so now I'm back full-time, and I'm struggling with full-time hours again and trying to find the time to do everything else. I'm sure you guys are well aware of the struggles. The struggle is real. So my throat's been so dry too. I think from all the excitement, the screaming, and laughing at the wedding yesterday. But yeah, this deck is so beautiful. It has a very Six of Cups, nostalgic, kind of sentimental energy to it. I've expressed on the channel in the past that when I read from this deck, I feel like, especially the titles, I feel like I'm reading fragments of somebody's love letters. Something from the past, like love letters that were written, I guess, between two people. They were once in a relationship and that relationship didn't end up working out. So it feels like there's this long lost kind of energy to it, this longing, but I've been really enjoying adding this to my journaling practice. My Femme Fatale Tarot, I had to pull this deck out. I was just, as I was moving through the transitions, I'm still adjusting, I'm still adapting. I really just needed to feel encouraged and empowered in my day-to-day life. So I had to pull this deck out. Now this deck is not for sale. This is a personal deck. I created it for myself to specifically work on empowerment. It features some of my favorite ladies from the classic Hollywood era, 1930s to 1960s. I pretty much focused on that time range. But this deck, I always turn to when I need to feel powerful or remember how strong I am. Whenever I feel shaken up or I feel lost, this is always a deck that I can come back to. So again, this is my personal deck. This is the Femme Fatale Tarot. I wouldn't show it to you. Or I should say, I am showing this to you because this is an honest deck list video. This is honestly the decks that I've been working with. And this is one of them. And I also like to share this deck on the channel for any of you who've thought about creating a deck for a long time and you just keep putting it off. This could be your sign to get that deck started or finished, completed, wherever you are with that project. Surprisingly, I pulled out the Tarot of the Huntress this month, more towards the last couple of weeks. When I do move through really significant changes in my life, it does tend to bring up a lot of insecurities that I have. And I find Artemis is just such a wonderful face of the divine feminine to connect with around that. Like, the goddess is all about sovereignty and self-acceptance, at least in how I experience her. She's very wild and free, and I, of course, always tend to turn to her a lot too when I feel very confined in my day-to-day life or limited and restricted, or boiled down to specific roles or priorities too. I know a lot of us tend to feel that way. And I find that this goddess Artemis is so wonderful for that. She connects you to your passions, to what makes you feel human again. And it's really why I appreciate her energy and her essence. At least in my experience with her, like, she's really come to represent those things. And I love the imagery in this artwork. It's all pre-Raphaelite artwork. There's nudity, as you could see from some of the images I showed you. But I love how nature focused it is. It just gives you the sense and feeling of being wild and free and just who you are to your core. reminds you that you're more than just your day-to-day job or the roles and priorities that you have to balance in your day-to-day life. That you have passions, you're a soul, you're a human. You have individuality and uniqueness. And it's one of the reasons why I've really come to appreciate this deck, and it stands out in my collection. So again, this is the Tarot of the Huntress. This deck was created by, I think, Kara Small is her name. Her Etsy handle is called Symphonic Forest. If you're interested, I'm not too sure if she still has copies of this deck, but feel free to check that out. She does, again, she has an Etsy store. The next two decks I try to work with together. So I have the Magickal Botanical Oracle and the Hedgewitch Tarot. So I actually forgot that I worked with the Magickal Botanical Oracle. We had like a quick minute together because I was trying to work with the two decks together and it just wasn't working. The Hedgewitch Tarot, I can already tell this is going to be a study deck for me. It's quickly becoming one of my favorite decks in my entire collection. And I should show you some artwork. That would be helpful, right? But I'm absolutely obsessed with this deck, as you guys are well aware. Now, this deck was sent to me by Llewellyn for review, and I do have a full reveal and review on the channel of this deck. So I'll skip some of my the things that I discussed in that video. I'll let you go watch that video if you haven't already, if you're looking for a more in-depth review and experience of this deck, as it is new. But this deck, I'm just absolutely obsessed with it. It's been in heavy rotation since I've obtained the deck. Like I said, it's quickly becoming one of my favorite decks, one of my favorite tarot decks in my entire collection. It has a beautiful liminal, like equinox energy to it. Sorry, you might hear my daughter. She's playing with my sister, or I should say my niece. My niece is getting rid of her Barbie dream house, so she gave it to my daughter, so you can hear her playing with it. Or you can probably hear her playing with some of her other toys as well, but she's like obsessed with this Barbie dream house right now. It makes a lot of sounds, but anyway, this deck is, so it has a very strong equinox energy. And to me, the way I feel about this deck, the energy, it has a very strong connection to the other side. I love the artwork. So again, it's a Llewellyn deck. It was just released this month. I'm absolutely obsessed. I know a lot of people are shitting on the cardstock right now. And if I'll share my experience from my personal experience, the previous Llewellyn cardstock I've had a lot of really negative experiences with. I've had several decks get a lot of damage over use, and I'm very gentle with my decks. I don't ripple shuffle. It hurts my hands. So I just overhand shuffle for the most part. And there was one particular deck, I think it was the Trick or Treat Tarot, and I mentioned it on the channel. You can probably still find that video. I'm pretty sure it was a wrap-up video or something. That deck, it had so much damage after just 1 month of use. And so far, I've been obsessively pulling from this deck for over a month now, and it's received no damage I could probably still edge this deck. So I am having a very positive experience with this cardstock, and I wasn't sure when I unboxed it. And I shared that on the channel. I was really nervous when I unboxed it and I felt how thin it was, but it's holding up really well. I do have to report that to you guys, honestly. It's holding up really well. And like you can see, there's no damage. I could probably still edge it if I had the time or patience. Which I'm tempted because I really like these blues on the back here. Off topic, but for my nail polish girlies, a while back I did pick up, inspired by the colors on the back, I picked up this nail polish by Polished for Days. It's called 2024. As you can see, it is very complementary to the purple. Okay, but I'll spare you further details about the deck because I know I've spoken so much on the channel about it. You guys are probably sick of hearing about the Hedgewitch Tarot, but it is honestly one of the decks that's in heavy rotation in my collection at the moment. And like I said, I think this is going to become a study deck for me. I'm probably going to include it in on my herb practice, my plant spirit practice. And I did try and work with the two decks together. I was trying to use this one to clarify, and I felt like it was just information overload. And I took that as a sign that maybe this deck wants to be studied like individually by itself. And I do see that happening in the future. So the other Oracle deck that was in heavy rotation this month was the Feminine Myths Oracle. This deck was sent to me for review by Llewellyn. And again, there's nudity in this deck. This is another deck that it is quickly becoming one of my favorite Oracle decks of all time as well. This deck, it has the energy of a trusted companion, a sister, a friend, an aunt, a grandparent, somebody that gives really good advice. It doesn't exactly reflect the age of the individual, but they have a lot of life experiences, like they've lived through a lot in their life. It's very reflective of the experiences of women, anybody that identifies as a female, as a woman, as a girl. It definitely has this feeling of knowledge or wisdom, of experiences that span across time, generations. It's a very beautiful deck. It's one that I have to really take time, stop and pay attention to the artwork. It's very captivating. I love the artist. I always forget how to pronounce her last name. Anna Novez. She's created quite a few decks. She created the Soul Mirror Oracle as well as the Nova Witch Tarot. I'm really enjoying her artwork. I think she's going to be one of the deck creators that I collect. Probably every deck. Again, this is the Feminine Myths Oracle. And that deck too, it really helps me to feel empowered as well. But from remembering my experiences, remembering how far I've come and the strength that I've gained. The last two decks were more towards the beginning of this month. So I have the Antique Anatomy Tarot. I was working with a particular guide who is an ancestor with this deck before a significant amount of changes ended up occurring in my life, and then I had to put that work kind of on the back seat to focus on myself again and just getting by. So the Antique Anatomy Tarot was created by Claire Goodchild. This is a mass-produced deck. And this deck, as I've shared recently on the channel, quite a lot. I think the last couple of videos included this deck. I find this deck kind of moody. It's brooding. It's a masculine energy to me. It's a very masculine leaning energy. It can be a little temperamental, but it's very honest. I've shared, I'm pretty sure on the past, that I've experienced this deck really sharing perspectives, like wide perspectives of situations, or really helping to establish seeing a situation from multiple angles. It's a very interesting deck. To me, I can't read this deck like a traditional Rider-Waite-Smith. It's one that I have to work with intuitively. And I do think the imagery really goes so well with the themes that we're dealing with in fall, pumpkin season right around the corner, and same with the next one. So again, this is Antique Anatomy Tarot by Claire Goodchild. Next, I have the Midnight Magic. This one was created by Sarah Richard. So this deck was created by Sarah Richard. This is a mass-produced deck, and the artwork is all mushrooms. It's very cute. Oh, there's more than mushrooms. There's like mushrooms and typically an insect, possibly an animal. This is such a cute deck. I love the artwork. It's a great deck for if you're ready to start moving forward with your life after a significant transition or ending. I had to discontinue this deck because it became less about who I was after the change, as opposed to it just being about remembering my strengths. And it was also, it wasn't about what typically worked for me. Usually what works for me is to go back to older routines and structures. It was less about that and more about just just sort of going with the flow and just surrendering to the experience this time around, I've noticed. So it was one that I did end up switching out for the Femme Fatale Tarot, or the more empowerment, the more comforting decks, or the favorites. Okay, so that's about it for the decks portion of this video. I'm now going to move on to the books. I did finish 2 books and I wanted to give them reviews. We'll start with the Blood Witch. The Blood Witch book I did pick up on Amazon. I picked this book up and I was able to read it within 2 days. So I do want to report that this book was incredibly easy to read. It's very large font. You can burn through the book very quickly. It's well written in the sense that it's easy to read. I enjoyed the book. I thought the content was very interesting. I purchased this book and read it because I was wondering if blood magic was maybe... Oh, I picked up sorry, I finished reading this book like early August, so I will have to review my notes because it's been quite some time. So I picked the book up because I was under the false pretense that the book had more to do with ancestral magic or working with ancestors alongside a blood magic practice. That was my fault. Although it does mention how you can work with your ancestors in like how to work with blood magic with your ancestors, I should say. And it does mention that it's a powerful symbol of your ancestry. It's just... This book is about blood magic practice. So if you're interested in blood magic, this might be a great option for you. This book, however, I felt like there are some critiques that I do have. Like I said, I did find it to be an overall enjoyable experience. It was easy to read. As I said, I did finish the book within 2 days. I, however, felt like the author missed the opportunity to speak more about how menstrual blood can also be included in a blood magic practice. She basically just admitted that it is a practice, like you can use your menstrual blood in a blood magic practice, and then that was it. So I felt like there was a missed opportunity there. And I noticed in a lot of her rituals, she would mention pricking her finger to draw blood that way, which I don't recommend, even off of the very little blood magic research I did very early on in my spiritual practice. I recognize that that's actually can be quite dangerous. You can get infections very easily doing that. She didn't even mention to make sure, like she did mention to have it sterilized, but she didn't mention how you can sterilize the pin, which that is not me saying that I recommend you pricking your finger, by the way. I'm just based off of the limited research I did very early on in my spiritual practice on blood magic. I quickly learned that you can use a device to draw blood for your practice, and I'm pretty sure they use a diabetic device, one that you would prick your finger to test your blood sugar or something along those lines. Again, I recommend that you do further research if this is something that you are interested in, and to just try to be safe and hygienic. But that was, again, another, I felt like that could be a slippery slope to recommend pricking your finger with a needle. But overall, I do think that it's a very interesting book. I found the content was very interesting, and although I'm not personally interested in although I'm not personally interested in blood magic, it was still very interesting to learn about the practice. So those are my feelings about that book, The Blood Witch. Another weird thing, you can see the author, her name is in very small text. If my camera would focus. I think her name is Nicole Callaghan. So So the other book that I finally completed is Tarot for the Magically Inclined. I still have decks on the mind. This book was sent to me by Llewellyn for review, and this book was very interesting. Hold on, let me just switch over to my other journal. So I found it to be an excellent resource for learning astrological associations of the tarot, and it had a lot of very helpful tables and guides, as well as it was an excellent introduction to numerous magical systems. Right off the top of my head, he does go over Kabbalah and its tarot influences. He does mention also the Order of the Golden Dawn, which I believe is one of the main contributors to our astrological associations in the tarot, as well as Aleister Crowley, of course, who I believe was a member of the Order of the Golden Dawn. It's a great introduction to different types of magic. Great spreads. I really recommend there's a giant spread where you will pull up your natal chart, your astrological natal chart, and then you pull out all your cards from the deck, and then you create like an outlook or like an outline of yourself and the situations that you're going through, your struggles. It's fascinating. How to find the tarot cards associated with your astrological influences in your natal chart and what they say about you. So what I just said. Kabbalah and its tarot associations. How to path work with the tarot. How to work with certain days of the week and times of the day in your spell work. And working with angels and demons. There was a whole chapter on that. So it's a great introductory book. I wouldn't necessarily recommend this if you're looking for something really in-depth, but there are some really handy tables and guides in here. There's some really great tarot spreads, as I mentioned. Just trying to find one of the guides here. And as I've mentioned on the channel, I already use a lot of the astrological associations to the tarot. That's actually how I learned tarot, because my knowledge of astrology was so much greater. I was able to merge the two of them together and learn tarot fairly quickly. So you can see a quick little guide to all the major arcanas and their astrological association. But yeah, I did enjoy this book. I found it to be very helpful. As I've mentioned on the channel, I do really enjoy the guides. It's nice to have the way I read tarot, like in a quick, easy, readable guide. So again, this is Tarot for the Magically Inclined, and it was written by Jack Chenick. But this pretty much sums up the month of August for me. Crazy, very crazy month. So much going on, so much change. We're moving in. I can't believe it's already Virgo season. It's been quite a roller coaster of ups and downs and turning around and so much things going on. But let me know in the comment section below how your August was, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.